Hey, good morning. This is Jay Nicholas, and we're gonna shoot a version of a Tachman. Oh my goodness, Hickman fish taco in kind of an unusual earth tone color. And let's zoom down here. I like to show you some of the materials we're going to use. We're going to use some holographic Flashabou. Not quite that long. We're going to use some orange ostrich and some black barred ostrich. What else? I've got a olive schlappen feather here. I've got a couple of shrimp pink guinea feathers. I've got some copper wire pre-cut. I have some Spirit River Sealex dubbing. You don't have to use this kind, but these are great colors. I've got some Pro Sportfisher Classic Tube medium right here, and blah blah blah. I think that's good enough. Let's get started here. I'm going to grab my scissors. I think I happen to be using, I was telling Guy this morning, this Aviva's 10-aught thread. I grabbed 10-aught. You know, I'll use anything from 6-aught to 10-aught. A little bit of cement there. But I just happen to have 10-aught. And gosh, it works great. So, but you can use your thread of choice. So, got a little bit of this Sealex dubbing, and when Jeff ties his fish tacos, he does not put his dubbing in a loop. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to put mine in a loop and see how this comes out. I think it's going to be just fine. Now this is, what color is this? This is Tequila Sunrise. Now this fly is going to have an overall olive cast to it, and I think this is a yellowish orange. It looks really nice at the rear of the fly. I'm going to reach forward here and out of my pre-cut wire. And Guy and I were talking this morning about the potential of this wire to create too much buildup at the head of the body. And I don't think it does, but I'm using a pretty fine wire, so that may be the trick. So this Fire Tiger dubbing, Greg Senyo Fusion Dub makes one that's kind of brownish. I forget what it's called. It's really good. Now this part of the dubbing, however, I'm not using a dubbing loop. I think I do better. Jeff says, and Guy, you might check the focus there because I know I moved the vise. Jeff says it really works out better if you just twist your dubbing on. And I agree. For the butt, a dubbing loop works great. But for the body, look at that. That's really nice. So, I don't think I mentioned a little saddle hackle here, saddle hackle action. And Guy, go ahead and pan down. The thing that's, I don't want to choose a saddle like this. It's a little bit skinnier than I want. So I'm going to go down near the base of this patch. I'm going to fish around here. Ooh, yeah, I like that one. It's got a little bit of web in it. We'll come back to the fly. got a little web to the base. It's a little broader at the base. So I'm going to strip that off and tie this in right here and wind towards the back of the hook. Remember, I've got that copper wire back there. Now when Jeff ties this fly, his fish tacos, he ties his hackle in by the tip at the rear of the fly and then works his wire forward. And if you see me fumbling here, I can't see my wire. There it goes. So I pretend I'm tying an elk hair caddis or a stimulator or a woolly bugger, and I tie my hackle in this way. So every time I go over the shank, the tube, that's lashing down my hackle. Now I'm going to reach in here and just feel for that stem, trim it off. I used to just snap them off, but Rob Russell talked me out of doing that. Okay, what next? Oh yeah, a little bit of ostrich, and I want mostly olive with just a little bit of orange. So I'm going to put my little bit of orange in here in advance. And at any minute, there could be a knock at the garage door. I think I hear somebody coming. It's all part of the excitement here. When you have your studio in the garage. So there's a few ostrich hackles. Rob, you could go through the house and let people in. I wouldn't worry about a little bit extra noise. So this is a black barred olive ostrich. This happens to be Spirit River. OPST makes this product as well. And anybody who works with ostrich knows that almost every package is going to have different properties. So it's always nice if you can visit your local fly shop and pick out ostrich that's just like you want it. What I usually wind up doing is buying quite a bit of it, and then I use some of it on some flies and some on other flies. Now the issue of how much ostrich to use here on this fly is a matter of personal preference. Hey, got more people in the audience now. A lot of personal preference here. It may seem like I've got quite a bit here, but I promise you that when this is in the water and you're swimming this fly, a lot of this ostrich just kind of disappears. And you could be spinning on that ostrich too, but I do it the way that works best for me. Okay, here comes my Flashaboo. And I trim this. You don't trim it. Gosh, I had a dream about I'm doing too many of these videos. I dreamt that I saw somebody trimming their Flashaboo from the end of the piece. And I was trying to tell them, no, don't do that. Trim it from the part uh-oh, Flashaboo in the mouth. Trim it right up next to the top where it's gathered together. So I'm going to hold this against the near side of the fly. Take about 3 turns and then fold it over the top so it's pretty much on the other side. And trim it and then wet it so I can use that piece again. Now this fly is tied in the round. It doesn't really have a wing on top, so it's somewhat symmetrical. Now, you know, if this rode with the Flashaboo on top and bottom, I don't think the fish would care. So I'll just say this is tied in the round, even though to truly be tied in the round, I'd need to have Flashaboo on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to use a cone on this, and I'm going to first put on a couple of turns of olive schlappen, and the main purpose is to fill up this area right here where where I flashed down my ostrich. Because if I tried to cover that with my guinea, I'm going to finish it with guinea before the cone. I don't think I could satisfactorily cover that, and then there'd be a gap behind my cone. So I want my cone to fit on there very nicely. So this olive schlappen not only looks nice, but it also helps serve the purpose of covering that wad of thread. So I think I've got enough there. I've got 1 turn. If I let go of that, I'd lose it. So I reach in there, I can almost see it, but I can feel it. Trim it off, and I'm having to hold this tight so it doesn't come unwound. Put about 3 turns there. Try to trim off the stem. Now, got my guinea feather. This is a shrimp pink. Now, is the color I'm using here critical? Nope. What else could you use? You could use a Kelly green. Let's turn that off. You could use Kelly green. You could use natural gray and white. You could use a baby blue or silver Dr. blue. You could really use just about any color you want. Now, here comes the fun part. I always wrestle with guinea, and you probably get bored. I'm going to try to fold it here. Probably get bored with me saying this, but Hickman struggles with it too. Guinea is just individual. There's a few individual feathers that have really slim center quills and that fold nicely and that wind nicely. Now, notice I left the tip on so it wouldn't pull out, so I'm going to trim the tip right now. Now I'm trying to hold these fibers back as I'm winding. At this point, I'd say this is working out. I'm not so sure if I'm happy with it. Maybe well enough. So I'm going to tie it off, and I'm going to see if I can work with this to where I'm satisfied. And if I'm not, I will unwind it and tie another feather on. Because sometimes you just cannot get that feather looking right. But I'm happy with that. And I only have a little bit of thread in the front here. So I'm going to put on 2 whip finishes. And if you want to use a tool, that's fine. And then I'm going to add a little drop of cement. And we're almost done here. A little bit of cement. Round. Now I'm going to slide this off the tube, and Guy, if you could bring that down. I'm going to brace this on my vise base. Oops, I better put the cone on. This is an ultrasonic disc. If I don't leave room, cut it too short. Almost always cut these longer than I need to. Now I'm gonna barely melt the end and open it up. And now I'm gonna put this fly, I'm gonna show you a rear view of the fly. That's how it looks when the fish is just sitting right behind it in the current on the hang down. Now I'm going to put it back on the flexi needle. I missed. There we go. So here you have an olive earth tone fish taco. I think I'm gonna straighten that out so I can spin it around there. The fly is going to have a lot of motion, a lot of movement. It's unweighted except for the disc. It's going to be a very lively fly, a summer fly, and don't give up fishing a fly like this in clear water in the winter. Hope you've enjoyed this. Get out there as soon as you can. Thank you.